Throughout the course of history, women have played a crucial role in the development of America. During colonial times, women were expected to get married, have children, and stay at home to cook and clean. However, despite these limitations, women continue to play a significant role in the growth and survival of the American colonies. Around this time, most women were illiterate and received very little education. They were taught that their only responsibilities were to raise the children and to maintain the cleanliness of the house. Furthermore, these women had few legal rights and were unable to vote. Although widows and unmarried women had some rights and were allowed to buy and sell property, married women were not. Most often, married women were represented by their husband and stripped of their own individual identity. They were not given the right to make a will, own property, or divorce their husband even in cases of abuse. However, during the Revolutionary War, women not only took on supportive jobs, but also had more direct roles. One of the key roles of women during the Revolutionary War was being nurses to wounded soldiers. Additionally, they also dressed up as secret soldiers in order to fight alongside men. Many women also spied on the enemy by working as maids for the opposing side. Although women did participate in the American Revolution, they were still expected to marry and have kids rather than pursue a career. Later on, around the time period of the New Republic, women began playing a significant role in the political process. Since they were in charge of raising children, especially males, they were also raising future legislators. This meant that although they could not participate in the political process themselves, they had an influence on their children and their beliefs. This Republican mother idea allowed women more access to education so that they could teach and educate their children. Then, during the years of the women's era between 1890 and 1920, women began to have more economic opportunities such as the right to work and were aided by legal changes such as the right to own property. Despite the economic growth around this time, quality jobs were mostly limited to white, native-born women who had new opportunities in office work. Immigrant women mostly worked in low-wage jobs in domestic services or factories. The role of women in politics also expanded greatly during the Progressive Era, as more women of the lower class began receiving more education, which allowed them to become leaders of the new movement. During the Progressive Era, women demanded to be seen as their own individual outside of the shadows of their husbands. In 1869, the National Women's Suffrage Association was formed by Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Susan B. Anthony in order to fight for women's rights. By the 1920s, movements and reforms led to women gaining the right to vote. Then in 1963, the Equal Pay Act was established to ensure men and women were given equal pay for equal work. Later on, in 1973, the U.S. Supreme Court case Roe v. Wade affirmed that access to safe and legal abortion is a constitutional right. However, as of recently, this constitutional right was ignored and the Alabama Human Life Act was passed in order to ban and criminalize abortions. Furthermore, although the Equal Pay Act of 1963 aimed to abolish the wage disparity based on sex, it was reported that in 2017, female full-time workers were only making 80.5 cents for every dollar earned by men, a significant wage gap of around 20%. Despite this, women are now being recognized as important leaders and political figures now more than ever, with U.S. Representative Nancy Pelosi becoming the first female Speaker of the House and Hillary Clinton, who became the first woman to receive a presidential nomination from a major political party. Over time, throughout centuries, the role of women has tremendously changed. Although women are gradually receiving more opportunities today, they are still far from being equal to men.